Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pizza Story podcast. Today we're sitting down with a true New Jersey heavy hitter. If you know anything about Jersey pizza, you know the spot is an absolute destination for elite pan pies. Please welcome the one and only Peter Falzo from Vinnie's Pan Pizza. Hey Peter, thanks for being here.
Hi, Erica. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the flattering introduction. It's flattering. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. I've been following you online for quite some time and I think we've messaged back and forth and I really wanted to have you on.
It is a couple months ago when we were going back and forth. I was just about to open a second location, and then I started that process, and I was like in it. So I'm like, I'm still in it, but like the timing was not the best. So I wanted to make sure because I'm following your growth online, and I read your book and everything that you're doing in the story. And I think it's super important for people to kind of understand, cultural backgrounds and how things come to be, and, where Italian Americans really derived from. And their stories are so important for people to understand, a lot about our culture. And I think it speaks volumes that you're, about the history of your family and where we are now with, our culture and working in the pizza industry and what it really means. And, for me specifically, it's relatable to me. It's very relatable.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, let's get into your story. I really like to start with how you grew up.
So I grew up in your stereotypical Italian American household. My mother is essentially first generation. My grandparents were both from they're Molfi. They're from Puglia and Molfetta in Italy. My father's origin originally was from Naples. So, I mean, he was second generation in the States. My mother was first. Believe it or not, she was conceived in Italy and then born here.
Wow.
My grandfather, unfortunately, he went back to Italy after he brought my mother and my aunts and uncles and to here. He went back to Italy to fight in the war. So he fought in the Italian army, and then when he came back to the States, he fought in the American army as well. So that was kind of a little bit baseline of my of some of my Italian heritage. I still have a good amount of family in Italy that I'm in touch with. Now they're predominantly in actually I just got a message randomly, which Facebook is great for, from a cousin that I didn't know existed in Puglia, which
Wow.
ironically probably going to in September. So he reached out to me through my mother's side of the family. Somebody must have put him in touch with me. But most of my family now is in the Republic of San Marino, in the northeast section of Italy, about 45 minutes outside of Bologna and about 2 hours from Milano. So I'm
Wow,
still
that's
there.
incredible.
Yeah, it was good. The first time I went to actually, it's funny. I have this is my grandfather. I'm sitting like by my office, so this is a picture of my grandfather coming out of in the Italian army. I unfortunately was the baby of my mother's side of the family,
Yeah.
which drives me crazy because I seem to be most enamored with our Italian heritage.
Yeah.
The culture just makes a lot of sense to me. The first time I went to Italy, I was 17.
Yeah.
I was graduating from high school, and I thought it was the most important thing in the world. And I was like bitching and moaning and like, I don't want to go. I'm going to miss graduation stuff. And blah, blah. My father's like, you're going to Italy. He's like, you're not going to like dig ditches in the middle of the desert. He's like, here's you. And then fast forward, like we were there for like, I think we were there for like 2.5 or 3 weeks. And like, I stayed and I didn't want to come home.
Yeah.
I just felt very comfortable with the culture. I was easily relatable. It was easy for me to relate to my cousins. We had so much in common, and just the culture itself just consumed me. But more importantly, it gave me a much better understanding of my heritage and what, you know, being like what Italy is genuinely like and being Italian
Yeah.
rather than stereotypical, respectfully Italian American that, unfortunately, we get misrepresented quite often and categorized in a way that I don't love, because in
Yeah.
Italy they'd mock what goes on here in culturally. And I think that there was a disconnect somewhere along the line. I don't know when it happened, but either way, it really made me very aware of, you know, the act of just being present and in a meal really meant, and what wine meant and what sitting at a table meant and what the act of eating together and just spending genuine time and talking meant. And it made a lot of sense to me, right? Like
Yeah.
here I feel in the States that meals are a means of fuel and not a means And I think that it's really important to have that time. I try really hard when I have my children to Sundays, family day. I don't care if
Yeah.
we the house all day and do nothing. Like that was always a way for me to connect with my father who worked really hard. As a kid, he made as much time as he possibly could. Don't get me wrong, but like Sunday was the day where you were home and you did things with the family and you ate together and you just spoke and you were there and you bonded and so on and so forth. But at that age was when it shifted me and my mindset of the European mindset and being aware of it. And kind of now I was enamored by it and I wanted to go back. I had a friend of mine who's Greek and he was first generation. And he was like my brother that I never had. And I grew up in and around his house and I saw the meshing of cultures and it made a lot more sense to me. And it
Yeah.
was like, all right, they're able to convert that over here, but somewhere along the line, generationally, we're losing it little by little. We're losing it. And not that it's a problem to become Americanized, but I think it's so important to keep the traditions going and to understand where you came from and to drive those simple values home. And, I do that now with my kids. I took my kids to Italy last summer for the first time, 13 and 10 with my mother. And it was the first time my mother had probably been back in about 10 years.
Yeah.
And it, like super emotional for me, at least, because it was like, I wanted my kids to have that experience,
Yeah.
right? To get where they come from and to see how generationally it is. And they never saw that side of my mother. My mother started speaking Italian fluently, and you would have thought my kids saw a ghost, come up out of
Wow.
the water. Which was like, and I think to them it was very captivating. And for my mother, it brought her back to life, and she was able to share that experience. It was just really special,
It
So
is really special.
yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like to me that was like I needed that, and it was a milestone for me to be able to give my mother that experience, to be able to give my kids that experience. Now they're asking incessantly when we're going to go back, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, so
Which
is
is
mine.
great. It means that they enjoyed it, right? They're to me, I'm determined to let them see how the rest of the world engages with each other and how important it is to learn about your culture and to understand others through their culture. I feel like that's a really, good way to start to understand people.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So take me through, your teenage years, you go to Italy on this trip, and then where does life kind of lead you?
So, 17, 18, my father was, he was in the car business and he was just in the car. He was in the car business. So I grew up in and around the car business and I have that bug in me for cars. And I always loved it. Being a student was not exactly my forte. I was more of an entrepreneur. I had my first business when I was 19.
Mhm.
Friend of mine. The internet came about. I was probably 18 or 19 when we started dabbling in sales and different avenues on the internet. I was always in sales and marketing, and I worked for ad agencies, and I did go to college, but it was like as soon as they tried to steer me in the direction of a class that didn't hold my interest, all I wanted to learn about was marketing and sales. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, trying to understand people and hitting markets and, you know, high level ad agency is what I worked for. So I was around a lot of glamour and glitz and things like that. And as the years progressed, I kind of like would shift and bounce around. And I never really had something that I was like drawn into. But since I was probably like 14 years old, 15 years old, my uncle, who was Vinnie, he had a
Mhm.
pizzeria in Livingston, New Jersey that was that he bought when he was 18 years old from my godmother's family. He
Okay.
graduated high school. He worked there. He bought it and he owned and operated it for 30 years. And so unfortunately he felt ill and, we lost him, but I worked
Yeah.
there. It's him and I had a very special bond. And, I wanted just to be there because I wanted to be with him.
Yeah.
But he and I had this relationship where I would work there on the holidays and I would do phones and I would just go there to make boxes. And on holidays, I would sleep at his house and he would bring me to the pizzeria. And truthfully, the pizzeria, you know, my father was the eldest of four siblings and they were their lives and age gaps were very spread apart. So the way that we all became close, my cousins and I were at the pizzeria. My uncle was kind of the backbone of our family and the pizzeria was the nucleus, right? So it's like holidays, we saw everybody there. Our cousins worked together there,
Yeah.
we got into other family members there. And for me, I got a lot of education by just being around my uncle. My father and my uncle were very different people. My uncle was a very simple person. My father is just as great of a person, but just was very different. So my uncle was always very big on being grounded and enjoying the simple things in life. And, you just have to be present. And he was a very, spiritual person with religion. And not that he was driving Catholicism down anybody's throat, but he was just, a very peaceful person. And he was always with the person that took the underdog in and wanted to help kids in the town that nobody wanted to help with. And the stories of anybody that would talk about my uncle were unbelievable. When he passed away, said cancer, they shut the town down. And
Wow.
it was a really special, he was a really special person. So I learned about the pizzeria business by just being there.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, when I got into my late teens, early 20s, things happened. I was co-producing independent films with a guy that I knew. And in a way of things, keeping me busy, I would go work at my uncle's, and I hated it. I just didn't envision myself as that type of person. So it was hard for me to be there because I felt like I wasn't, when you grow up in a certain environment, you don't look at success a certain way, right? My father
Yeah.
was a Thai guy. My uncle was a jeans and shirt, go to work with an apron on all day, and he worked his ass off. Excuse my language. I mean, he was the stereotypical restaurant pizzeria guy
Yep.
through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and in the 2000s. He worked as much as he could, and he had a beautiful life and he great things, and he was traveled and had fun, but his life consumed that, and I saw that, and I didn't understand it at the time, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, the definition of success comes in many different pictures, right? And when
Yeah.
you're brought up in a certain environment and an affluent area and things like that, you lose sight of what the real definition of success is. So it's not actually monetary things. And I think you have to go through life and you have to go through some hard times to understand that. And it's success is fulfillment and gratitude and being present and being able to help people. And to me, that is now what learned. So yes, I learned that from my uncle. So when I started working there, I really had no idea what I was doing. I was in between jobs. My father, unfortunately, went through some hardships. I had to work. So I
Yeah.
had no choice. And I worked there after the market crashed in like '08 and the world collided and people lost money and you had to figure it out. So I was working there. He unfortunately is sick. So we were there working. My cousin was helping him. And, my father and I needed to figure something else to do. And one of my other cousins owned delis, very successful delis in New Jersey. So we took a space to open and try to franchise his delis and take space to open another one. And fast forward within like 3 or 4 months, we were in a town that we didn't know the demographic as well as we probably should have. And we were like, this deli's not going to work because there's a deli in New Jersey called the Millburn Deli. And this Millburn Deli is like the pinnacle of deli. I mean, the things that they do there and their food is unbelievable. And they're just doing numbers that are untouchable and they're just create this unbelievable presence. And we were like, it was like David versus Goliath. And it was like me being good with people. And my father's a member of country clubs. He was in business for so long. We had tons of relationships at night.
Yeah.
Instead of closing the deli at night, we literally converted to a restaurant. So it was like 15, 20 seats. I had a phenomenal chef. We did
Yeah.
classic Italian American dishes. Um,
Wow.
we took my grandmother's, linens and put them over the deli cases and did candles. And it was like, it evolved. And like, I was
Yeah.
very going out in New York, right? I was always in the city when I was younger, restaurants and nightclubs. And I understood that how to deal with people very well because I was always on the other side of it. So at night, when I realized like we had a rainstorm one night, and I'll never forget this, we had a rainstorm one night and there was tables outside, and I didn't know I had no idea what I was doing. Like literally, I was like, I don't know what, like I never worked in a restaurant before. My father never worked. All we did was eat in restaurants. I never worked in one. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about it other than how to like, deal with people, right? Which is 70% of it is how do you handle people.
Yeah.
But one night it starts raining and we had to bring all the tables from outside. Now, it filled the room up and people were handing each other plates. They were laughing. They became seen. And I had a very like moment where I was like, this does not need to be a deli. It needs to be a restaurant. Like
Yeah.
literally, I told my father, if I told him in the beginning, I'm like, I'm only helping you get this open. I'm not staying. I'm not doing this. And like, I told him, I said, but if you're going to succeed here, this can't be a deli. It's got to be a restaurant. We're never going to succeed. We closed literally like 3 days later, called in relationships that we had, converted it in like 2 weeks to a restaurant. Like
Wow.
gutted place, redid it. Like, it was like, there should have been cameras there to see what it did because it was like unbelievable. I mean, we've got really great relationships and we're grateful for people that have helped along the way. And it was like we converted it. And for 10 years post that, we had probably one of the, coolest little Italian trattorias in downtown Melbourne. And, we had celebrities that through there, high level executives. It was like the who's who of the area would come there. And I learned a lot about the business. And during that time frame, I got married. I had 2 kids, and it was like, it's tough being in that industry and being married and having 2 kids. And like, I didn't love it. It was very difficult. I was home later at night. I was living a reverse lifestyle. You
Yeah.
know, tension between my father and I was toxic because 2 Italian American males in one small area with 2 strong personalities. He's trying to be protective to make sure that I was doing well, and I'm trying to find myself and grow. And it just caused a lot of tension and a lot of stress in our relationship. And it was not
Yeah.
the way that I wanted the latter part of his life to be, or mine for that matter. So unfortunately, in that time frame, long story short, I ended up towards a divorce, and I was, at a very low point. My chef, who was with us for 11 years at that point, was fried.
Yeah.
He was family to us, and he gave us like 6 months notice. And he's like, very emotional time for us. Cause he's like, I just can't do this anymore. He went through his own divorce, and he's like, I need to just change things. And he gave us an ample amount of time, and who we replaced him with was not nearly as capable as who he was. And like in many restaurants, it was like you bob and you weave as an entrepreneur to try to be successful, but you have to come to a point where it's like, I'm going through a divorce. I'm running out of money like an hourglass. I
Yeah.
had a company that I had, so I had some means to kind of survive, but it was like, where's this going? Right. And like one of the hardest times in life, like my uncle who I would go to talk, I was like
Yeah.
a little bit lost. I'm like, I was just like, I had this like epiphany of like being alone one night, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Where am I going? And I was like, I think I just want to make pizza. And
Yeah.
I didn't make pizza in, I mean, ever. Like at his place, it had been probably 15 years since I've touched dough and like was around it. And, I was just like, I need something that's literally just very simple. Like
Yeah.
I just need to stand here and make this pizza because I really was going through a really terrible time. And I just found peace in it. I was like, this is
Yeah.
pure, it's simple, and it became contagious. So I did the same thing we did 12 years earlier. I closed the restaurant, and people were really upset and sad. And I just made that choice to scrounge up what I had left and aside to try to succeed in business. And my cousin, who had another restaurant, closed because he
Mhm.
had sold it, and his chef came to work for me. And for about the last 6 months, our other restaurant was open, and he knew everything else. He was just as great as cook. But I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, I think it's a great idea. I believe in it. And I said, will you give me 4 months? I said, I can't pay you the way that I've been paying you. I said, but if you believe in what I do and you stay with me, you have my word, I'll take care of you. And I did. So closed that. And literally the day that I closed it, the next morning, I think I was there like 5 a.m. I was like, took everything out. I put it in storage, and I ripped the whole floor. I just took all my anger at life and things going on. I took it all out on space, and I demoed it myself, and I just
Wow.
engulfed space for a few months. And in the interim of that, I was like, what am I going to do? And I started creating a really small pizza menu. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just like, I just consumed myself in it. In the midst of that,
Yeah.
I tell the story. It's like, similar to your book, it's like I found peace in pizza. Like I just found
Yeah.
this simplicity in myself of, finding myself, of getting back to basics and being who I felt I really needed to be. And did it evolve bigger than what I thought it was going to be at the time, where I thought I was just going to be a pizzaiolo and make pizza. But I love that I found something in myself that I didn't know existed. I knew
Yeah.
I loved the creative side of it. I loved building a business. I loved the marketing of it. But more importantly, I liked the story, right? Like I didn't intend for the story to go that way. You
Yeah.
know, kids were a part of the build out. They were probably 8 and 4 at the time, something like that. So like they would come, and I've got pictures of them testing pizza, and like I've got video of it, and like they helped me break the floor up. And like it was a time that was like, was bonding. So it was
Yeah.
like, now fast forward, my son's 13. He sees where the business has gone. We've gotten great exposure, and I'm really proud of that. But I'm able to keep the integrity of the business while I scale it, which is really important to me, right? It's like that whole saying that pigs get slaughtered. I'm grateful that I have a staff at my one location that takes great pride in what we do.
Yeah.
And the type of person that I am, so they take equal pride in that, right? The second location that we just opened, I'm actually doing with my cousin, who we formed an unbelievable bond through my uncle.
Yeah.
He helped me while I was getting divorced to come help when I had my kids. I'm sorry if I get emotional because
No, it's okay.
it's for like 2 hours each way, one day,
Wow.
help me. So we bonded and he believed in everything I did. So we took that location. He saw
Yeah.
one shore because we love the beach. And I've been spending a lot of time down there with a girlfriend that I've had for the last 4 years. So I'm like, this is where we need to go.
Yeah.
Location, sorry.
It's okay.
Day I saw it, after I looked at like 10, I was like, we're taking it. I told the lady right there, I'm just send me the lease. She's like, what? I'm like, just send me the lease. Cause it literally had everything I needed. It was like
Yeah.
here, the rent was good. It had all the core basics to it. And him and I did the same thing I did in Millburn. We got it ourselves, we worked on it ourselves and, and we just consumed ourselves in it for those few months. And I was able to keep the consistency in my one location, which you're very afraid of in the beginning of like losing the quality of the pizza and, you're not going to be there. But the truth of the matter is when I did what I did, I mean, most of my business is delivery. My pizzeria only has 8 seats. Summertime, it has 12 seats. That's it. It's
Yeah.
counter service. I don't do full service. I made a promise to myself that whatever I did while I was going through a divorce was to be able to spend time with my kids. So I worked with a guy from California. I do business development is what I do outside of the pizzeria. So I worked with a
Yeah.
guy from California and he helped me like yay or nay. So I brought him a deal for another fast casual concept. And I was like, I'm doing this. I was like, can you help me like create this concept that I have in my head? I'm like, I told him my story. He happened to be like a pizza head. He's like, dude, I think that's like super cool concept. He's like, nobody has that like kind of what you're trying to accomplish with the pan pizza and like in that realm of things. And he's like, this is the future. And like, he taught me all about delivery apps. He taught me how to like kind of create consistency.
Yeah.
I have a very petite menu. I think that's a huge mistake with a lot of businesses in this day and era that they want to be like, especially pizzerias, like they want to be like a diner menu.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to appease everybody. Like you don't have, and like you just don't like make 15 things phenomenal and you'll do great. If you
Yes.
have 100 things on your menu, but only 2 of them are actually edible, like, it's not really gonna help you. I have to apologize. I just realized my battery is give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna plug my
Okay.
computer. Apologize. Probably something I should have checked before we start this, and we're good. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it.
It's like the worst technical difficulty ever.
It's okay.
Sorry. I literally I'm, like, going 1,000. I've been up since 4:30 this morning. I had to take my girlfriend to the airport, and I'm like, I just drank this espresso real fast. So I'm like, "You're falling apart. Keep it together." I'm sorry. Where did we leave off?
No worries. So you were telling me about how you came through all of this hardship and then things kind of came together for you and you opened up your first location and then you started moving forward on your other locations.
Correct. So it was just really comfortable place for me where I kind of just found myself. I kind of just found myself in the simplicity of making pizza. And, you know, when you go through something that's, I hate to use divorce as an example of this, but when you go through something that's kind of traumatic like that, and I think
Yeah.
you have to like really go through something to genuinely find themselves and to genuinely appreciate things. And when you come out of that and you get fulfillment out of something, you're like, wait a minute, like it just feels good. And you want to do something that just feels good. And the simplicity of pizza to me was like way deeper than that because I was able to carry on a tradition in my family that was revived, right? My
Yeah.
uncle was this unbelievable person. He helped so many people. And I like the pizzeria was kind of like the core of our family, right? It just was. And it was lost when he passed away. My cousin, his daughter, tried really hard to, I think, fill those shoes, but it was just too much for her. It was really just too much for her, I think, emotionally and physically. And, it dissolved. And I was happy to be able to bring it back. And when I did, so many people were so supportive of it, like unbelievable supportive as a community. But like when they heard that it was me, that it was my uncle's recipes, that it was like the old place that it was, and how and then getting the confidence, like this is the closest thing that it was when I was a kid when your uncle made it. Like it's unbelievable. So my uncle, we don't use stereotypical pepperoni, like we don't use round pepperoni. So like the pepperoni
Okay.
or pie is just shredded. it's not like a fine like shoestring, but we shred it out so it's in like almost like, a very, very, very thin French fry size, call it.
Sounds great.
It creates a lot less oil, but it's like our staple, right? Like we're
Yeah.
the only ones that do it. And like that was a way of like reviving what he did. And like that was like one of our staples is like our Roni pies. Like so simple, but like everybody goes crazy for it because it's different. And like you can't tell me people like order the pizza and they don't even try it. They're calling it like there's no pepperoni on the pie. Or like there is. It's just you gotta bite it. Like it's in there.
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
cooks into the cheese. So it like really became one of our staples. And bringing those old traditions back to life, and for me being able to carry it on to my kids and like bring it back to my family, and like through that hardship, my father was really involved with the restaurant, but I took this all on myself, right? And it was like it
Yeah.
was hard to do that because when you separate yourself like that, and I needed to just go on my own and make my own way and have my own choices. And if I failed on my terms. If I succeeded, I
Yeah.
succeeded on my terms, right? It's like you want to just know that you're capable. It's like I knew I was good in other areas of things that I do. Like people are easy to me. Like that just came natural to me. It was just one of those gifts. And marketing is something I enjoy to do, to learn about it. And like that's why we're able to get in front of you, because the traction that we got and relationships was able to build on social media, and people just being very receptive to the brand. And like I'm grateful for that, right? The simplicity of it, but I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
And the growth
Yeah,
that we've
and you
had.
guys I mean, you recently really blew up. I saw your Dave Portnoy video.
Yeah, believe it or not, that was so what's great about that is it was based off the product, not me. Because I was at the beach that day and I watched from my cameras in full
Wow.
transparency because I tell the truth. And I was like, I had a great manager at the time. Unfortunately, he's no longer with me. And like at the time, he was, I told him what to do. I said, just leave him alone. I said, if he comes, just leave him alone. Just let him, like, so there's a love-hate relationship with a lot of people with Dave Portnoy. I think that because I like an underdog and he likes an underdog, I understand him a little more.
Yeah.
He helped a lot of people during COVID, like that were going.
Yeah.
Listen, like when I opened, I was on the tail end of COVID. Like I did all this during COVID. I was in a divorce. I was financially distressed. COVID was going on. The world was upside down. I was like, what
Wow.
else can I put on this to see if I sink or swim? So
Yeah.
he saved other pizzerias in our area. Like I know he wrote them checks. Like I know his fund raised a lot of money for small businesses. And like, yeah, he could be abrasive, but it's usually what he's abrasive about. It's just that something that people don't want to acknowledge exists. And it's true. They just don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can understand it, but I'm also of the mindset where it's like, I'm competitive. I wanted a stamp of approval, but I was never allowing one person to determine my future. It just wasn't going to happen. Like, and I always said, if he comes in, give him the pie, let him go. It's not going to determine where we go. It's just not.
Yeah.
So but it was wild after that for months. I mean, it was chaos. It was actually almost too much. I was like, it was insane because Friday, they don't tell you when they're putting the review. They don't tell you what you got. Some people watching their cameras. I was like, I don't want to know. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And like, for like 2 or 3 weeks, you had no idea what the hell was going on. Then all of a sudden it was a Friday night. And like, at the time, and I still do, like I work the ovens on Friday nights, and every Friday night I'm at one of the locations now. And like I was working the oven and I was insane, like overly, and I don't usually ever get flustered. I was like, this is insane. Like I just couldn't keep up with it. It was like
Yeah.
chaos. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I love music. So a big part of our place is music, right? Malcolm always loved the Beatles. He was a music nut. I love all music. It's like music is played a little bit louder in our places. It's just part of, the experience, and like, not obnoxiously, but like it's part of the vibe of the place. And I like
Yeah, totally.
like my manager who had his own style of music. I remember it was like a needle in my head. I was like, what are you listening to? And like, I took my phone out for the first time in like 3 or 4 hours to like change the Spotify. And I had like literally had like 300 messages. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I realized it
Wow.
was me now. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like turning everything off. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, turn the tablets off, turn everything. I had people calling from Texas. They're like, can you send us pizzas? And I was like, I can't even get the pizza to the guy up the street. You want me to send you a pizza to Texas? So I'm like, what are you, nuts?
Oh
So,
my
it
god.
was a fun experience, but it made me really dial in the operations of what it was. So
Yeah.
I was grateful for that. And it still gives us great exposure. People who became pizza heads during COVID and they travel around and they try stuff. And like, so I think so. If anybody's out there that's going to watch this and wants to correct me, I won't be offended if you do, because I could definitely be wrong. I'm pretty sure we're the highest rated bar stool within the radius of Newark Airport. So I'm like
Yeah.
10 or 15 minutes from Newark Airport. So a lot of people who don't come from outside our area. Forgive me. You're in, what area are you in?
I'm in Tampa, but I'm up in the Northeast a lot.
Got it. So you could relate respectfully. Florida pizza, you know, shaky with all due respect. So where
Yeah.
people come into Northeast, they want pizza. They want product they can't get. So we're fortunate enough that when they go to the app or they go to look or they Google whatever, we're so close that we get a lot of overflow, which is why I actually added those 8 seats that I had. I only had one table in there when I opened. And to be honest with you, the table's for my kids and for me to sit at with my kids while I was there. If
Yeah.
they came to eat, I wanted them to have a place to sit. It was like a play on wheels in the beginning. Like there's some pictures. It was like, I literally made it like white linen, white plates, high end silverware. Like it was like a joke, like a giant candelabra. And it was like reserved. It was like funny at the time. Like, and people were like, we can't sit there. And I'm like, no, it's not really. Like, and I used like pictures and like for a marketing ploy and things like that.
Yeah.
We added a couple of seats because I was like, I felt bad because these people are coming here and like they're standing outside eating. And I'm like, I'm not okay with this. Like, so I added like couple tables that I could fit because the space is really small. You know, I,
Yeah.
I did what I could do because I felt guilty that I'm like, these people are coming here to do this. Like, how do you serve it? Like, how do you service them? Right? You have to at least have someone to sit and eat. And ironically, like we get great feedback from traveled pizza. It's in person is exceptionally even better. Like if you get it right out of the oven, it's phenomenal. Like I don't
Yeah.
expect you get it. So it's like it's even better. So at my location down the shore, against my better judgment, I just took the space next door a little equivalent size, nothing overwhelming, but it's right next door. And I'm adding like a 6-foot walkthrough, and it's going to lead into a communal space. So I'm putting a gelateria, I'm putting gelato and coffee, espresso, and pastries, like in a small section in the corner, and it's going to have communal space so people could sit and eat because we're at the Jersey Shore, right by the Point Pleasant Bridge. So there's a lot of traffic that's coming through there. But I had the same thing happening. People are coming and leaving, and I was like, this is different. The people want to sit down. So I was like, this is going to be, thank God we're doing well down there, but it's like, they want to sit. I feel guilty when that happens because I'm proud of what we have and what we're doing and I want to accommodate. But in the same breath, I think I have PTSD from having a restaurant, which
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get sucked into being a personality there again, which is why,
Yeah.
it's hard when that happens. Like somebody's got to be there and I could very easily get consumed in that because I like things to be a certain way. If it's going to represent me and the brand a certain way, I expect the experience to be a certain way. That's
Yeah.
kind of how it goes.
Absolutely. I mean, what I love the most about your story is that you face so much hardship and you've come out of it on the other side and you have this beautiful creation of this pizzeria and the pizzas just looks legitimately amazing.
Well, eventually I hope you end up somewhere close so I can meet you and, you could share a pie and experience it. And if I can freeze and send it to you in Tampa, I will definitely do that because it freezes perfectly, which is one of the things I'm working on now is a frozen pie because there are
Wow.
people that still call to ask, but it's like, it's something I dabbled with before, but I need it to be like, right. I'm not just going to do it to do it. You know what I mean? Like I just want to learn about it more and understand it more. But I had somebody, I don't know if they left the Milburn location or they left down the shore. I think it was Milburn because they were going to Newark Airport. They took 5 pizzas. They're like, don't overcook them, undercook them, don't cut them, and just let them go cool. And I'm like, all right. They come there and they're like, you just cut it in half. So I'm like, yeah. They surround them in the pizzeria. They had ice packs and they flew them, I think, to either the British Virgin Islands or to Hawaii to a family member. And I was like, they sent me pictures from there. And I was like, that's aggressive. I was like, I love it. I'm like, but that's aggressive. I was like,
Aggressive.
yeah, I was like, that's aggressive. Like, hard enough time taking a backpack and kids on a plane. You're worried about packing 4 pizzas. Like, to me, that was kind of comical. But yeah,
Right?
grateful that we've evolved into this and it's going and I'm able to do things like this because I think it's important to share, like, you know, the world is kind of crazy right now, right? And like, people need to hear good stories that there's
Yeah.
always, there's always another option. There's always, a positive from a negative. And if you just kind of dial in it, something good comes from it. Usually, you know, if you just get behind something and like, I can honestly say it was one of the things in life that I gave 100% to. And I made sure that if I did it right. And I made sure that if I was like, I dedicated myself to it for enough time. Like it got to the point with the first location where it was done. And like there was still paper on the windows. And my dad, who, we're closer than we've ever been. He's going to be
Yeah.
83 this year. And our relationship is,
Wow.
it's nice to know that and I help my parents now. And it's a role reversal, right? It's like, and I'm happy that we have that relationship. And I'm happy that I'm in a place where I could do that. And like, he is very good at things that I'm not good at, right? Like, I'm not a books person. I know what I'm good at. Like, I'm a marketing guy.
Yeah.
I'll work till my back kills. Like, I'm good at that. You want me to sit in front of a stare at a spreadsheet? Like, that's like somebody putting needles under my fingers. I can't, it's not what I do. So he helps me with my books. He brings my bread in the morning because we get our bread from a specific bakery who doesn't deliver.
Yeah.
He's got his little routine and, it's in a great place, and it's like, I was able to incorporate him into that at the right time. Granted, we have boundaries,
Yeah.
business boundaries that, took a little bit of time, but I think at first he thought I was crazy. And then he openly admitted probably for the first time in 43 years that I was right. I could probably, and it all, made a nice turnaround, so the relationships are there and business is doing good. And, it's all positive stuff, right? Like nothing's perfect, but this is as close to perfect as I could ask for it to be. We're coming into our first season down at the beach area. So, I enjoyed this time, but like I was starting to say, like I had paper on the windows and he's like, you kind of need to open. And I was like, I'm just not ready yet. He's like, you're like, and I was paying rent and I was like, he's like, you're like, you need to open. So I just wasn't ready yet. I'm like, it's not what I want. I need another week or so. And I like got like another weekend. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a dry run. Like I'm going to do a run. I'm going to do an invite. Like I'm just going to go through my phone. And I had a restaurant for 15 years. So I have all these people. So I'm just going to go through my phone. I'm going to send a text message out to 120 people and see what comes out. I
Yeah.
sold it for 2 nights. When somehow somebody got it and it got reviewed and it got like put out there that I was doing this. And I didn't have time. I didn't even have a POS system or cash register at the time. I was using like a draw and I called in an old friend to help me do this and it just took off. And it
Wow.
was a blessing in disguise. And I'm sure my uncle, somewhere above was like, behind that and helped and oversaw and, was made sure that we were safe. And like there's signs periodically, like weird things. And I'm like, all right, he's proud of what it is. And family members have reached out and they're happy that like it's turned into what it's turned into. And, his widow is ecstatic that it's been brought back to life and, all that kind of good stuff. So we've kind of put the pedal down and I have a third location now I'm working on opening with somebody that I met that worked for my uncle since he was like 14. He's like my little brother. Helped me open both locations. He understands the business as good as me, if not better, because he's literally been in his whole, adolescent life and helps me now. If I know I'm going on vacation and I need to have real eyes there, he'll give me his time so I could take the time with my kids. And we're looking at our third location now. And, we're just going to try to keep the pedal going and build the brand. That's the goal, right? I mean, I think as much as in my head, it's like you stay in that little box, but I can't help myself because I have a vision of what I'd like the brand and the story to be. And I think if there's a good story like that and you could, eventually turn it into a really good positive, then that's the purpose of it. And that's what I'm going to try to do.
That's awesome.
Thank
I can see how much love that you've put into this, and I'm definitely gonna be up there. I think in June, I'm gonna make the tour, so I'm gonna come in and have a pizza with you. I do wanna tell the audience, I want them to go and follow you. So guys, go and follow him at Vinnie's Pan Pizza on Instagram, and what are the other places they can find you? I think,
you.
vinniespanpizza.com, right?
Our website is vinniespanpizza.com. Our best form of media, and I probably should be on TikTok, but I having a hard time with it because I get lost in it myself. So I'm like every time I get in this, I lose my so TikTok
Sure.
is at Vinnie's Pan Pizza, but it's not very big. But our best exposure to get an idea of the brand and to follow us in our journey is at Vinnie's Pan Pizza. We're in Millburn, New Jersey. We're in Brielle, New Jersey, which is a beach town, and hopefully we'll be in another town in New Jersey soon. I mean, I do have somebody that has asked me to bring it to Florida. Unfortunately, it's a little ways from where you are,
Yeah.
but you never know.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to head up to you. But Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
The
it's my
story is
pleasure.
incredible. I can't wait to come up there and have a pizza with you.
I appreciate it. Right, keep getting everybody's stories. I think the more people hear about, our culture and the background and the community. I mean, the pizza community is a really great group of guys. I mean, we've had this little, I don't like, so we have a group of guys. It'd be great if you actually ended up here when we do it. Every couple months, there's like 6 pizzerias that are really well known in New Jersey, and we all meet at one location, and we all bring food, we have a couple of drinks, we cook, we talk, we hang out. It's like we created this
Nice.
culture among us where it's not competitive, but it's more of like team building, right? It's like nobody
Yeah.
steps on each other's toes. There's a mutual level of respect. If somebody doesn't know something, they will go out of their way to help. You learn a lot from them. I learned a lot from guys that, I know what I know, and I'm not afraid to admit what I don't know. So we're blessed in this area that we've got so many great pizzerias and so many good guys.